Welcome to the HTML5 Dev channel. In this video, I show how to implement PayPal fulfillment Gravity hook and how to send transactional data to the Gravity debug log in a customized way. Let's get started. In the last video of this series, we used this form and connected to the Sandbox account and successfully made this transaction right here. The back end, this is the form and this is the feed that we created to connect, and inside this feed we use this business email from the Sandbox to connect to this guy right here, and we enabled logging. Also, we connected with this URL to the IPN or instant payment notification service of this Sandbox. And once we looked into this log, we get all this information, especially this entry data, lots of variables. This is the username and first name and last name, and the product. This is the money amount. All these are from this form at the back end, and this is the answer we got from this Sandbox account. In this video though, we will take control over these variables and using some of the Gravity form hooks and filters that Gravity offers us. For example, if you come to this page, you'll see all the standard filters and hooks that Gravity provides. They have all the details, examples here. In this video though, we will look into just this specific one. And if you look in the description, this actually helps us participate in an action or control or manipulate the outcome of a successful transaction right after a transaction actually successfully goes through. And this is the hook we are going to use and we will use in our function, and this will provide, since this is a number 4 right here, this 4 represents the parameters, this 4 parameters: entry, feed, transaction ID, and amount. And some examples here. I'll make these all these URLs available under the video, but this is how we take over the custom logging system, and these are the functions that we use to see the results of our variables. Once we get down to it, we're gonna know more about it, so let's get to it. Okay, we're going to start here in a function file. I'm doing this locally, but once we are finished with it, we will go ahead and take the functions and the code and implement into our target website. This is the action, and this is going to be our function, just as the document suggests right here. Now let's do the function. To begin with, I will just focus on this entry and feed. And as the documentation says, this hook initiates right after the PayPal transaction is complete, when the IPN message is received, and that's when it starts. So let's see the results we're going to find. And to direct the log to the correct log file, we need to use these 2 lines. And I'm using very custom information here, like I'm using my own name, moves entry, moves feed, so that once we look at the log, we will know this is not generated by the system. We will know exactly that this is generated by our code, right? So now take this and implement into the target site. Okay, so we are back at the target site's backend. Now let's go find the theme editor and let's go find the function file. Now at the very bottom, this is where we're gonna paste our code. Let's get this. Okay. We have our code right in place. Let's update. All right. Now let's perform a transaction and look at the logs, see what they show us now. Okay, before we perform the transaction, let's go to log and let's delete the previous logs. In fact, this time we will be looking in the Gravity core, because the code we placed in, this is the log to look at, because the Gravity standard log will give us what it gave us previously, right? So now let's go do another transaction, this time XX, YYY. All right, let's pay. All right, so the transaction is successful, and let's refresh this guy. New logs are created, and let's refresh this, our merchant account. All right, so here's our transaction, successful. Now let's go back our Gravity core here, go all the way to the bottom. There you go, most entry. This is what our code is generating, and this point we have the payment date, the transaction ID, the type, the fulfilled one is, that means it's successful, and the payment successful, also the status is paid, also transaction type, this is one. And if we are, when we are dealing with let's say one-time transaction versus subscription, this number will be different, and with this number we can then take over and manipulate what we are going to be doing, right? So this is the proof that our logic here actually worked. After fulfillment, this Gravity hook launched and it generated this entry and feed, and we took over, and with this piece of code we generated this. And if you look into this feed, I mean, there's not too much to look at here, this feed, but you can also always verify this email, because this represents this account right here. So basically what regular log, the default log, which is this standard, could not give us, with our code and the specific hook we used, we managed to generate this information that we can use. And to take it one step farther, let's go try to grab these variables and try to display them in this log in a custom way. So that shows that we can actually do anything we want with those variables. Let's look at it next. Okay, we're back in the code, and this time I'm going to bring in some variables. As we saw in the log, we have all these entries that are available inside this entry. So using these keys, we collect this information and put it in here so that we can use them any way we like. So now let's reformat them a little bit differently. All right, so let's call in a new variable, most custom data, and getting these entries from inside this variable, putting them in a variable, and now we are going to show them in the log, which will prove that we can have complete control over those variables. Now, once we can show that then we know by using if-then logic or whatsoever, we can actually use these variables and perform our tasks right after this fulfillment hook is launched. Okay, now we need one more line to make this variable show up in the core log, this guy right here. Okay, so now let's just take this whole function and go back to our original destination. Let's replace the whole thing. Now we have these variables up top, and putting all those, formatting a little bit, and this is the variable we are going to show right here, and this time we're also naming it most custom data. So let's save it. Okay, we are back at our form, and let's delete the previous logs. Actually, we're only going to be looking at the core one, so that one is no longer useful to us. So let's update. Good. Now let's go for the other one. Submit. Let's pay now. Okay, transaction successful. Now refresh. Let's go to the log. Remember, it's Gravity Form Core, not the standard add-on. Let's go all the way to the bottom. Right here is exactly what we wanted. So that's all for this video. On the next one, we will get into a little bit more in depth. Basically, we will create a multi-page form connecting to PayPal Sandbox, which will show us two different type of payments, single payment and subscription payment, and we will implement conditional logic to it. Thanks for now. If you like this video, please subscribe and click on the like button. Thank you.